They call it progress. But for Black queer men, fame can still feel like a trap. One wrong rumor, one honest photo, one moment of softness, and the world turns into a courtroom. Tonight, we're counting down 10 Black queer heartthrobs who didn't just survive the spotlight. They fought it. Beauty, talent, backlash, and the price of being seen. Some stories are hot. Some are heartbreaking. All are real. 1. Jeremy Pope. Beauty as a cage, then a weapon. Hollywood loves a Black man who can be filed neatly, tough, straight-coated, and silent. Jeremy Pope showed up as the problem they couldn't organize, Broadway-trained, camera-ready, and openly queer without asking permission. He made history in 2019 with 2 Tony nominations in the same year, then kept choosing roles that put Black queer life dead center, not as a lesson, but as desire. And that's where the double pressure hits. In rooms run by gatekeepers who still think leading man means heterosexual, his truth becomes a risk assessment. Pope has said he lost a major film role because someone implied he couldn't connect to a character simply because he's gay. He walked away anyway, because sometimes the only way to keep your dignity is to leave the table. Before the red carpets, he was already telling you who he is on screen. A gay screenwriter chasing a dream in Ryan Murphy's Hollywood, a lover in Pose, a man navigating brutality and belonging in The Inspection. The pattern is clear. He doesn't audition for approval. He auditions for truth. Now zoom in, the body, the face, the heat. Pope doesn't hide it, and that alone is a fight. He can wear softness like a weapon, and still read as dangerous, still read as man. The internet can't decide whether to worship him or punish him for being too much. And that's the most honest snapshot of our moment. Black queer excellence gets applause, and it also gets policed. Then comes the most delicious irony. In FX's body horror thriller, The Beauty, premiered January 21st, 2026, Pope plays Jeremy, pulled into a world where an STD promises physical perfection at a lethal cost. And even the character name feels like a mirror. Beauty as currency, beauty as curse. And Jaquel Spivey plays Jeremy before the transformation. Pope keeps his dating life private, and that silence reads less like fear and more like control. So if Hollywood keeps selling perfection, why do they panic when perfection is openly queer and Black? Leave your take in the comments and subscribe to Silent Fame for the next story. 2. Ncuti Gatwa, Joy Under Attack, then a shocking exit. Ncuti Gatwa didn't just step into the TARDIS. He kicked the door open wearing joy-like armor. Rwandan-born and raised in Scotland after his family fled the genocide, he carries a whole history in his smile. Before the headlines, he was hustling, handing out flyers at an LGBTQ club in Glasgow, later even go-go dancing, learning how to own a room before the world ever called him doctor. He first broke hearts as Eric on Sex Education, a character who refused to be a stereotype. When he came out as queer in 2023, he admitted he'd avoided talking about his sexuality for his own safety and mental health. That's the part people skip. Sometimes privacy isn't shame, it's survival. Then the world demanded he be a symbol on command. First Black lead of Doctor Who, first openly queer actor in the role, meaning every episode carried a second script underneath, the online backlash. Viewers didn't just debate storylines, they debated whether he deserved the job at all. Gatwa said it was sad to see people tune out because the show dared to widen who gets to be the hero, and that's the double bind of being Black and queer in a legacy franchise. You're expected to be flawless just to be treated as acceptable. Gatwa has talked about how white mediocrity gets celebrated while black people are pushed to perfection. So, imagine that pressure plus the microscope on your body, your voice, your softness, your joy. Every move graded by strangers. Then, May 2025 happened. In the finale, his doctor regenerated into Billie Piper, Rose Tyler, one of the wildest twists the show has pulled in years. Fans split instantly. Genius? Disrespect? Corporate chaos? The internet treated his exit like a verdict instead of a plot. But Ncuti didn't disappear. He pivoted into Film with the Roses, released August 29, 2025, alongside Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. He left the universe, but he didn't leave the spotlight. Drop your theory in the comments and subscribe to silentfame for the next name. 3. Johnny Sibily. Out but not too out was never his story. Johnny Sibily has a face that makes the timeline pause. Soft eyes, sharp edges, and that "I know you're looking" confidence. But what hits harder than the thirst is the life underneath it. A queer man of Cuban and Dominican descent, born in New Orleans and mostly raised in Miami in a military family, learning early that difference can be dangerous and silence can feel like the safest outfit you own. At 23, he moved to New York, grinding from background work up the ladder until the industry had to learn his name. On screen, he's been the heartbreak you don't forget. In Pose, he played Costas, Pray Tell's partner, an AIDS-era love story that doesn't romanticize pain. It shows the cost. It's hard to watch because it's supposed to be. And in Hacks, he flips the switch to charm and comedy as Wilson, proving he can be both the joke and the heartbeat of the room. Then came Queer as Folk, 2022, where he played Noah Hernandez, a man carrying grief and addiction after a nightclub shooting storyline. The show got praise and backlash at the same time, and was canceled after one season. The kind of industry move that always raises the same bitter question. Do they love queer stories, or just the headlines they create? And just when the public thinks it owns your private life, Johnny did the things celebrities are told not to do. He loved out loud. In March 2024, he hard-launched his relationship with Philip Davis, an OnlyFans creator, after they were seen at the Elton John AIDS Foundation Oscars viewing party, and then doubled down with PDA and public support. That's where the drama lives. People who never cared about his safety suddenly cared about his image. The same world that objectifies queer men of color turns moral the moment we stop pretending. Johnny's choice is simple: no shame, no cleanup crew, no apology tour. If you've ever been told to be out but not too out, talk to me in the comments. And subscribe because the next story gets even louder. 4. Keiynan Lonsdale, the heartthrob who refused to stay safe. Keiynan Lonsdale has the kind of pretty boy glow that Hollywood loves, as long as it comes with silence. He broke out as a dancer turned actor, then landed in mainstream machines that sell fantasy, teen fandoms, superhero worlds, glossy red carpets. And that's where the trap tightens for a queer man of color, because the industry doesn't just cast you, it curates you. Smile here, stand there. Don't say too much. Don't complicate the brand. Then Keiynan did what so many people are punished for. He told the truth out loud. Not in a perfectly managed press tour, not in a safe, scripted interview. He shared himself publicly, messy, human, proud, and suddenly the same audience that called him crush started acting like they owned him. When you're black and queer, admiration can turn into surveillance overnight. The compliments become conditions. The love becomes a leash, and the cruelty isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the slow fade. Fewer leading man conversations, more side roles, more polite distancing. The coded notes come in like perfume over poison. Can you play it more universal? Universal is usually a synonym for straight, for white, for quiet. So Keiynan pivoted the way survivors do. He built a second stage where no one could edit him. Music, fashion, photos that don't ask permission. He leaned into softness and heat at the same time, proof that masculinity doesn't belong to one template. That kind of freedom looks sexy on camera, but it's expensive in real life. Because every time a queer man of color chooses visibility, he pays twice. Once in public opinion, and once in private loneliness when the room gets colder. The real drama isn't who he dates. It's who he refuses to become, a palatable version of himself. If you've ever watched someone mysteriously disappear after being honest, you already know the question underneath this story. Say what you think in the comments, and subscribe to Silent Fame, because the next name fought an even uglier battle with labels. 5. Justice Smith, the man who wouldn't let the world name him. Justice Smith looks like the kind of actor studios love to place in big franchises. Clean-cut, intelligent, safe. He's been in the blockbuster machine, smiling through press junkets like he's built for it. But inside that polish is a queer Black artist who refuses to be translated into something simpler for straight comfort. And he came out in the middle of public grief and public rage during the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests, standing beside actor Nicholas Ashe. It wasn't a celebrity announcement. It was a statement. My Blackness and my queerness are not separate battles. And the moment he did that, the world did what it always does to queer people. It demanded a label like a receipt. Gay? Bi? Something else? As if the truth only counts when it fits a checkbox. That pressure is its own kind of violence. Because when you're Black and queer, people don't just judge your work. They treat your identity like a debate topic. The internet will either erase you, he's just experimenting, or reduce you, he's only this one thing. Justice has spoken about refusing to let straight people define him, because their definitions are often built on stereotypes, not reality, and that's where the comment wars start, because nothing makes an audience angrier than a person they can't categorize. The tragedy isn't that he's complicated. The tragedy is how badly the world punishes complexity. Instead of shrinking, he picked art that stares back. He took roles that feel like mirrors with the lights turned off. Stories that make you sit in discomfort, grief, desire, identity. And he kept showing up publicly with love, not as a PR stunt, but as proof that Black queer tenderness isn't a side plot. Some people call that too political, but what they mean is too visible, too honest, too hard to control. If you've ever been told you're confusing just because you won't perform a label, put your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe, because the next story is about a man who turned femininity into a crown and dared the world to kneel. 6. Nicco Annan, the crown that cost him everything. When Nicco Annan walks on screen as Uncle Clifford, it doesn't feel like acting. It feels like a declaration. Nails like weapons, heels like authority. A voice that can comfort you or cut you. In a culture that trains Black men to fear softness, Nicco built a character who rules through it. And that kind of power makes people uncomfortable for all the wrong reasons. Because the double bind here is brutal. Black masculinity is policed from the outside and often from within. Add queerness, add femininity, and suddenly you're not just judged. Or you're targeted as an embarrassment, a stereotype, too much. The same audiences who fetishize queer bodies will clutch pearls the second a queer Black man refuses to be digestible. They want the fantasy, not the freedom. Nicco's story isn't just the glamour of a breakout role. It's the weight of being the symbol people argue about at dinner tables. Play a character like Uncle Clifford, and you're not only carrying a show, you're carrying every accusation the world throws at feminine Black queer men. That they're weak, that they're unserious, that they're only allowed to exist as a joke. Nicco flips that. Uncle Clifford is the boss, the protector, the heartbeat, the one everybody depends on, and you can feel the danger in that choice. Not because he's hiding, because he's refusing to. He took a role that forces people to look at what they've spent years denying, that Black queer femininity can be powerful, sexy, and sacred, that soft can be steel. The pain is that breaking a mold often means being the first one to get hit for it. And the victory is that he did it anyway, with charisma so undeniable it made the culture negotiate with itself. If Uncle Clifford made you rethink what strength looks like, say it in the comments. And if you want part 2 of this list, more heat, more truth, more stories they tried to bury, subscribe to Silent Fame. 7. Dyllón Burnside, the ballroom bodyguard with a singer's wound. Dyllón Burnside didn't come from a glittery pipeline into fame. He grew up in Florida on a ranch, animals, dirt, sweat, and the kind of be a man rules that make softness feel dangerous. And when you're Black and queer, you learn to police yourself before anyone else does. Then, Pose happened. Ricky Evangelista wasn't a punchline. He was the kind of beautiful that makes people stare, and the kind of vulnerable that makes people uncomfortable. A dancer's body, a lover's face, storylines that forced mainstream audiences to sit with Black queer desire, heartbreak, and HIV-era shadows. It didn't ask permission, it demanded empathy. But the industry rarely rewards what it claims to celebrate. After you become the queer Black character everyone remembers, or the offers get cautious, the rooms get quiet, the fear hangs in the air. Will audiences only see him as gay now? Burnside's been outspoken about toxic masculinity, words that sound inspirational until you realize how many gatekeepers hear them as a threat. So he kept moving. He hosted PBS's Prideland, driving through the South and meeting LGBTQ people in places where being out can still cost family, work, and safety. He built a music lane too, Superpowers, as a pride anthem, not a speech. And in 2025, while people acted like Pose was a moment, he was back on stage in Me and the Devil at Arkansas Rep, May 27th to June 8th, proving he's not an algorithm memory. He's a career. Some viewers call a man like Burnside too political the second he refuses to shrink. Others see the real story, a Black queer artist fighting to be fully human on camera and off. Tell me which side you're on in the comments, and subscribe to Silent Fame. 8. Yared Nuguse, the medal winner who put love on the podium. Track fans knew Yared Nuguse as the closer, smooth stride, then a late kick that turns races into jump scares. At Paris 2024, he took bronze in the 1500 meters. But the moment that made him Silent Fame material wasn't just the medal. It was what he did after. Born in Louisville to Ethiopian parents from the Tigray region, his father a refugee in the 1980s, he knows representing isn't a slogan. And elite sport has its own closet, sponsorship optics, locker room culture, the myth that straightness is part of masculinity. Then in March/early April 2025, he posted an Instagram carousel introducing his boyfriend, Austin Julian Falco, with a caption that felt like a mic drop. Don't act so surprised. Playful on the surface, loaded underneath, because what he was really saying was, I'm done performing safety. That's the double pressure. Black athlete plus queer athlete. When a straight runner posts his girlfriend, it's wholesome. When a Black man posts his boyfriend, The internet turns into a courtroom. Distraction, image, why announce it? As if love is only acceptable when it's invisible, and yet he didn't slow down. He kept building his career with On Athletics clubs since 2022, under coach Dyllón Burnside, chasing wins like his private life never needed to be negotiated. The message is quiet but loud. You don't lose speed when you stop lying. If you think athletes should be judged by performance, not partners, let it fly in the comments and subscribe. On 9, Reece King, the pretty boy who got turned into a debate. Reece King didn't go viral just because he was beautiful. He looked like a glitch in the system, soft but sharp, pretty but untouchable. And that's where the trap starts for a bisexual man of color in fashion. The industry wants the image, but it wants the truth edited out. Before the campaigns, he was a working-class kid raised by a single mother, doing long retail hours to help keep life afloat. Then the camera found him, and suddenly he was the heartthrob fronting major work, including a reserved capsule campaign, visibility that can feel like rescue until it becomes surveillance. Because when people decide you're hot, they also decide they're entitled to you. Reece has spoken about how any hint of sexuality became a distraction, questions that didn't sound like care, more like a test. In 2018, he said it plainly. He's bisexual. No fireworks, just a quiet refusal to keep performing mystery for other people's comfort. That's the drama. Some praised him for being real, others treated it like a loyalty test, as if his value depends on who he dates. Fashion sells progressive, but it still packages masculinity in narrow boxes, and bisexual men, especially men of color, get framed as confusing PR. Reece didn't shrink. He turned attention into boundaries and softness into power. If you've ever watched the world applaud someone's beauty while policing their truth, you already get it. Drop your take in the comments and subscribe because the final story is the toughest locker room of all. 10. Byron Perkins, first at an HBCU, then left to fight alone. On football runs on a myth. Masculinity has one acceptable shape. Byron Perkins stepped into that myth at Hampton University and shattered it in October 2022 by coming out publicly, becoming the first openly gay football player at an HBCU. Not with a glossy rollout, an emotional Instagram story that felt like finally exhaling. That's the double weight. Black and queer in a space where even straight black athletes get policed. Add queerness and you risk being labeled a distraction, a problem, a joke. People love courage in theory until it shows up in a locker room. The internet can be worse. The same fans who worship toughness suddenly get delicate when the truth is gay. And the tragedy is, he still has to fight for a fair shot. And in 2024, he declared for the NFL draft and became a headline as the only out gay player in that class. Identity turning into a storyline, even though he wanted one thing: to be evaluated like everybody else. When the path didn't open easily, he kept going. He told Outsports he'd try out at the UFL Player Showcase, still chasing the dream, still refusing to disappear. And amid all that pressure, he shared something gentle too, introducing his boyfriend J.D. Dunn in Pride Month posts, choosing love out loud in a sport that rewards silence. Some say athletes should keep private life private. Notice how that rule gets enforced hardest when the love is queer. Byron's opponent isn't just another team, it's a culture. If you think nobody should trade a dream for an identity, say it in the comments and subscribe to Silent Fame. If these stories hit you, let it sit for a second. Because none of them asked to be a debate topic. They just wanted to live, love, and breathe without code switching their souls. So tell me in the comments, which story made you angry? And which one gave you hope? And if you're tired of the world trying to silence queer joy, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Silent Fame drops the truth they want whispered.